start the video laughing.
For anyone who doesn't know who you are, how would you introduce yourself?
I would say my name is Benjamin Webi. I am a husband, father, and then I am the founder of Soulfire Inspiration, which exists to set people's soul on fire so they can live intentionally and purposefully.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so cool. I think you're the first person who hasn't been like, I'm a singer, songwriter.
Yeah. For the longest time though, that's how I'd always introduced myself, because that was really how I saw myself. I am a singer, but then I've made the distinction. I am more of a person, and singing and all of those things are things I do. Yeah, so I think I'm at a good place with how I see that now.
Cool. And your family man, you said husband first.
Husband first.
Great.
The kids found us.
For sure. You have it right.
Yeah.
So, how was it then, as a family man, deciding, okay, I'm going to do music as a full-time job? Were you already a family man when you made the decision?
Actually, I was already a performing artist before I became a family man. But you know, there's definitely a dynamic to consider in terms of how that looks like in terms of family provision. There's now the aspect of, are we now making bank every month? There's more bills to pay. There's a whole lot of considerations to make. I was already a performing artist and I was already interested in pursuing music before getting married. But what allowed me to continue is I married somebody who first of all knew that about me and accepted that, and then said, you know what, you do your thing and I'll do my thing, and then we'll support each other and then see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never had to have that pressure of, oh my God, I am not providing, because your wife is okay with it?
Well, whether my wife is okay with it or not, I still have that pressure.
As a man, you have that pressure. But
yeah.
You never felt like I need to stop being an artist to...
I have found myself in that space, yeah. And the times that I can recall ever thinking that way or feeling that way were times when the checks weren't regular. You see, the difference between this and a job, well, a typical day job is that you get paid when you get you get paid when you play, or you get paid when you sell. And there are times when, you know, because the seasons are like this, it's pretty much the blueprint of entrepreneurship. You know, it's up sometimes, it's down sometimes, and in those times when things are not really going the way you want, you think, you know, okay, shucks, the bills don't stop when the check stops. They are constant when everything else is going this way.
Like, oh, we're on a low season.
Yeah, on a low season, so chill till Feb, you know, it's when Valentine's comes or when Christmas comes now. So what that did for me then, because, you know, I found myself in a space where I'd find myself in spaces where I'd need to figure it out, you know, what do I do then? Because I can't just look at the thing like that and feel like, I mean, even if my wife is okay, I can't take that for granted and then do nothing. What that would put me in a position of doing is reinventing. So what else can I do with what I have, or how else can I represent it, or what other things can I add on to it? How much further can I go? You know?
So it's not just limiting yourself to performing.
That's right, and you can't anyway, because I'm coming to discover, like at this point in my life, that most of us, let me say most of us, have different ways of expressing our gifts and different gifts. And so, you know, there's probably the one thing that you're focused on because it's the one thing you're probably most passionate about.
Yeah.
But there are other things that you can do that can add value. And sometimes those other things tend to add to the one thing that, you know, you're pursuing. Yeah, especially when it's not really panning out, you know, on a high season, so to speak.
Okay. As a father, if your children wanted to pursue music or art, what would your position be on it? Knowing what it is you've done, like how long you've been in the industry, what your ups and downs and everything, what would your position on it be?
First, I'd be excited because for me it would feel like they're, you know, taking a chip off. They're a chip off the old block, so to speak, and that would be a wonderful opportunity to teach them everything I learned, probably by making mistakes or because no one ever told me, and I'd support that. So right from the very beginning, they would come and tell me that, and I'd be like, yes, I'm all for that. I really am, because this is what you're passionate about. This is where you feel like your life is heading. So I can only do the best that I can to push you that way. But I would also now, in that sense, be a mentor and give them enough information to make the right decisions or build it themselves. because I think the temptation or the risk would be to try and live it out for them, you know, or to try and get them to do things as I would have done them. You know that question when people ask you like, you know, if you were to go back 10 years, what would you do differently? I'm like, now I have the opportunity to go back to...
I can use my child.
Yeah, and that's risky because, you see, this business is... It's tough for someone who doesn't have a strong sense of identity. And it's tough for someone who doesn't understand even why they're doing, you know, why exactly. So I wouldn't want to take that away from them by, you know, chewing their food and expecting them to swallow, you know, to speak proverbially. So I would support it, number one. Number two, I would give them enough information to make the decisions they need to make as they pursue it. And then number three, I would make sure that I'm present. So there's always, and share my scars, you know, because there are mistakes I've made, that's how they would learn, I think. Okay. Yeah.
Let me take you to, you've done music for 16 years.
Yes.
Well, from studio.
Yeah.
And you did Airtel Trace, right?
Yeah, the Airtel Trace Music Stars competition.
And you won 2015.
That was, yes, I won it in 2015, the Kenya edition.
The Kenyan edition.
Yeah, so they had the Kenyan edition
and
first.
Then you did the Africa.
Then there was the Africa edition.
Okay, so now in 2015, seeing as we're in 2019, you've been doing it for 12 years.
Yes.
About. How was it going into a competition in an industry you had already been in for such a long time? What was the process for you?
Wow, that process had a lot of moving parts. First of all, for me it was a season in my life where I needed to overcome some insecurities. You see, because you've been doing music for a long time, so you have this bubble that you live in that, you know, you're doing okay. As far as you've gone, that's as good as it gets. But then now putting yourself in a space where you're with other people who are competing perhaps for the same thing and doing the same thing you've been doing for such a long time. And the interesting thing about that edition was I was also the oldest person. I was the oldest person in that cohort. So I'd done music for the longest time. I mean, I was just about 30 then, and everyone else was 21, 22. Yeah, so that was actually a very bold thing for me. Yeah, so you've done music for 12 years, then you jump into a competition. I think it was really a way for me to ask and answer the question of, you know, am I really passionate enough to overcome, you know, even my own fears of failure in doing this thing. But the beauty of it was it panned out really well, because I ended up winning the Kenya edition, and that was probably one of the greatest feats or greatest achievements of my career. Of course, I vowed never to get into a competition again after that, because I was like, I'm done with this. But you know, there were some benefits that came with that. You know, a platform to showcase, which is one thing that every artist wants. You know, you want to be able to show this is what I can do, and hopefully get enough attention for guys to come and buy what you're selling, or come to your show, or whatever else. There was some money involved, so I had a fun year that year.
That year you didn't have to worry about.
I didn't have to worry about the high season, low season of entrepreneurship for that year at least, and the year after that. And this is the beauty of having people around you who help you make smart decisions. But that was definitely one landmark that is unforgettable.
Okay. Would you encourage someone to go into a competition? Young artist, older artist, you said you did it when you were 30. Would you encourage someone to go that way as their career path, based on the fact that you've experienced it yourself?
As a career path, no, because competitions don't build careers.
Like a start of a career?
Okay, well, yes, but I would advise caution. I'd say yes, because I think it would be a good place to find out what you're made of, and if that's what you're really asking. You see, it also begins with, you know, what do I want and how am I going to, what do I want to do, how am I going to get it started? If for you the way that makes sense is jump into a competition and then just, you know, fumble forward, then fine. But that means you'd have to have prepared yourself for the eventuality that this thing might attack your sense of security, for you're not all that. Because you know, there's gonna be some elements or some people probably saying that to you. You know, are you prepared to bust through that? Because if yes, then do it. But no, because of the same risk. If you're trying to pursue something and you're trying to figure out how it comes together, and you've already got stuff in your ear, you can't do this, you're not enough, then that kills the possibility that you'd ever pursue it, and then you miss out on a whole life of something that could have been. You know what I mean? So I would advise caution if I say yes. If I say no, it would be if they're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're just doing it to be validated, or you're trying to be famous, because there's the element of fame. It's like the proverbial 15 seconds of fame. Yeah. If you're just trying to get your 15 seconds of fame, that's really not the way to do it. Yeah, because that 15 seconds of fame could be any kind of fame. It could be the good kind of fame, it could be the bad kind of fame, and you have no way of controlling which one you get.
Especially now with social media.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have 3 albums out.
I do.
Do you feel like there's been growth in the industry in the amount of time, like from the first album to now? What differences have you seen in the industry, both like good things, bad things? Have you seen any changes in the industry?
First of all, let me give context. My first album was out in 2005. This is 2019, so that's 14 years. So there's been 14 years of evolution in the industry.
Right.
Some of the good things are, one, there's more ways to consume music, so that means there's more ways to make it available. The world has become a global village, so you're not struggling to get your music into Tanzania, for example. Speaking from a access point of view, you're not struggling to get your music in the US or worldwide. Let's say the world is a global village. So the good thing, one of the things that I think have been really good over the last X years, well, since I started and up until now, is also people's appreciation of music. When I'm talking about the Kenyan context, I mean, recently there was a conversation on Play KE music, and that was interesting because it really centered around a lot around people's support of homegrown content. The fact that we're having that conversation is an indication to the fact that people realize, wait, we're either appreciating or not appreciating. There's a debate.
Right. It's a discussion.
I didn't hear that when I first started out. There wasn't much of that. Also because that was a very different time. People have realized there are possibilities, so they're trying to push the envelope, and that's a good thing because that means growth, that means development. The bad things, and I don't know if I could call them bad things, let's call them challenges because I think they can be solved. Is now when it comes to allowing the creators of content to earn back from what they're creating. With all these possibilities and the world becoming a global village and so many possibilities on how people can access this content, there's also many loopholes. There's so many loopholes, and you're not guaranteed you'll make back 100% out of the effort you've made to create. It's not as bad as it was before. If you're talking copyright, if you're talking royalties, if you're talking about, even sales, it's not as bad as it was before. It's better now, but there are those many other things to consider just so that it's really ideal. And the ideal is, if I put out my album and it's being played on radio, I really want to be able to earn the royalties from that. If I'm putting out my music on online platforms, I really want to be able to make, and I want to be able to know that someone is not finding a workaround to figure out how to get my album for free. I mean, I appreciate that you want my album that bad, but I'd prefer you pay me for it because it cost me something. And it didn't just cost me money to create it; it cost me life. It cost me my life to make it.
Right, because you put yourself into the music.
I did.
Do you think, as a male artist, there's a discrepancy between like how male artists and female artists are treated by the industry in Kenya? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you see a difference? Or haven't you been in such?
Not really. What I have seen is that there's definitely what we're calling male dominance. There's definitely more male artists or male expressors. Can I say that? I'm struggling to find the right term. But there's definitely more guys than ladies doing it. So what you're going to interact with in that space more with is seeing the dynamics of how it works for the guys than you would for how it works for the ladies. So I wouldn't say that perhaps there's a discrepancy or there's inequality, as it were. We're going to use that term because it's a familiar one when we're looking at the comparison. Yeah. I wouldn't say so, because there are very successful female artists out there as well. They're successful in the sense that they've been able to pursue it and make something out of it and a name for themselves. You know, and I think that maybe the challenges that we face are not necessarily industry based; they are more societal. Why is it that it's okay for guys to do something but not for ladies? If we're looking at it that way, then the challenges that we will talk about really have nothing much to do with the music industry. It's more of, this is just how our society is. But in terms of industry, it's really the only discrepancy, and I'm using that term very carefully here, but the only discrepancy is that there's a lot more guys than ladies doing it. So I think that would be really amazing to see more ladies jump in, especially those who are aspiring. You know, go all the way, do it. You know, I think one of the most exciting things for me to watch, like when I've been at a concert, is an all-girl band, and I've recently been at It's Lio Live was amazing, because I mean, she had an all-girl band. I've never been in a space where I've seen that. Me personally, myself as Webi. And that just added to the wow factor. I was like, yeah, finally. In 16 years of doing this as a musician, I've never seen that, you know? And I'm so proud that we're at the point where we have that. So that's hope. I think that, like now when my daughters, because I have daughters, when my daughters are grown up, or if they should choose to pursue music, that will be just an addition because of the foundation that's being set right now. So yeah.
And Soulfire, what's that?
Soulfire is basically an inspiration hub. It's not brick and mortar. It's really just a collective of effort that goes into inspiring people, you know, through music and conversation. So there's written conversation, there's live video conversation and whatnot. Really just to keep guys looking up, you know, feeling inspired, you know, living their best lives, and that's really what drives. Actually, I just founded that this year. But the backstory is I've been preparing for this for maybe 2 years. But now that it's out, this is what it's about. It's really about inspiring people to live intentionally and purposefully. So how we get to interact is, I'm definitely going to share some sign-up links. Yeah? So I'll give you them.
They will be down below for sure.
Yeah.
You have to do the whole YouTube thing down
exactly.
below.
So guys click in to sign up, and then they'll find interaction. So we'll have conversations that'll come to them on email. I'm hosting a live Facebook event every single Friday, 6 to 6:30.
On the page? On
my Facebook page. So there'll be info on that. And that's really where I want guys to go. I want to connect to them there, and then we'll just keep it flowing from there.